Welcome back to Love&I, the show that talks about real life experiences in dating, relationships, marriage, favorite of all, sex.
So before we started planning and going into this podcast, and I sound a little weird, I'm a little under the weather, but we kind of had some conversations with people about what constitutes a modern and traditional male and female, or man and woman, depending on how you want to classify it. And we had some interesting discussions, and we thought that would be a good subject for today's podcast.
What's interesting is that lately I've been seeing in a lot of videos from relationship gurus, psychologists, etc., as the men movement started, and by movement I mean encouraging men to speak up, right? Because that's a big deal. Men don't talk, men don't share, they don't really express what they think in a relationship, in a marriage, when they're dating, holding back on emotions. And I've seen this shift where now men are expressing, they are talking about things that bother them, things that they look for, things that they're not okay with. And one of the things is that the roles have changed, and there has been a little bit of confusion when it comes to women being traditional or modern, or you would say dependent or independent, and then men taking on that role, understanding where they should be. So one of the questions is, are women traditional these days? Why are you laughing?
I mean, I think that's painting it with the broad stroke, but I think everyone has different levels of what is considered traditional and modern. I mean, I would say if we went back 70 years ago and looked at how women are then compared to now, I mean, I would say that 95 or maybe 99% of women would be considered modern as opposed to those standards. But
what are those standards?
I mean, I think back in the 50s and 60s, it was the woman would take care of the kids, the woman would clean, she would cook, she would
You don't think women still do that?
I'm not saying that they don't do that, but nowadays women are they're working, and they're not as submissive as I would probably think women were back in the day.
Okay, so let's dig a little here, because we use words submissive, independent, modern, but then these lines are a little ambiguous. Like for me, for example, I would say that I have a little bit of everything. Coming from...
I wouldn't expect you to say you have any deficiencies, so yeah.
I probably do. I'm sure I do. But it's good that we're talking about these things, because not many times people talk about these things openly, because you may offend somebody or somebody may take it personally. But it has to be open, because there is, especially in 2023, why can't we just say exactly who we are, what we think, how we want to be in a relationship, how we want to show up, and how we expect others to show up in a relationship. But we have to know exactly who we are and what works for us. So if I ask that question to myself, coming from my background, my culture, that would make me a traditional woman, because that's how I was raised. Well, living here has taught me to be independent, has taught me that there's so many things that I can do on my own, that I don't need somebody to help me live my everyday life. And women go about and they're kind of like criticized when they say, I don't need no man. What a woman would say when it comes to that is, I don't need you to help me survive, because I'm able to manage that. But it doesn't mean that I don't need you as a man, or your role in my life, or what your presence would do for me, how it enhances my life. And those are two different things. So if I'm considered modern because I'm working, and I will always work, no matter who I'm with or if I get married, I'm still traditional in my mentality.
So I get that, and I have realized that I should never eat a cracker before coming on a podcast because my mouth is very dry.
I don't want to give you my water.
No, I'm gonna suffer.
I think you should.
So you were talking about why can't you be honest with who you're with and
yourself.
Yes, and how you consider yourself traditional. So here's kind of the problem I have. And I don't want you to answer this. It's just a rhetorical question.
I'd love to answer it.
Well, I'm going to ask it, but I want to answer some of your stuff. So I'm going to ask a rhetorical question and then go on to it.
Okay.
So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you are talking to a woman and she goes, I just really want to be a housewife? So those thoughts that go along with it, there's certain connotations like, obviously she doesn't want to work. She wants to stay at home. And maybe it's due to she wants to find a rich husband. She wants to be lazy, do yoga, whatever it is. So, when you want to be a housewife, there's nothing wrong with that. My mom was a housewife. You also, if you want that, you have to show what your value is. So like my mom, she raised 3 awful little boy devils. Like we were the worst. And so my dad didn't worry about buying daycare or any of that stuff. My mom took care of us, raised us. She was a great wife, a great mother. And so that's what she brought to the table. But when you go on a first date and they say, I just want to be a stay-at-home wife, it has these, unfortunately, negative connotations nowadays of what goes into being a stay-at-home mom. So in that sense, and some men, they probably really like that. They want a stay-at-home wife. They want someone that just takes care of the kids. They want that traditional role. But, at least for me, hearing that up front, it wasn't, I needed to see more the value she brought to the relationship before hearing that and being like, okay, she's looking for, she just wants to be lazy, rich husband, blah, blah, blah.
So what values are you referring to that you want to see before?
So being kind, being able to work well with kids, like she's seeing her around kids. Is she a good cook? Is she clean herself? Just seeing if she already has the traits that would go into being a stay-at-home wife. Because if you're going to stay at home, what are you going to do at home?
You're expected to take on that role where you're taking care of these things.
Yes, and I'm not saying that the woman would have to do everything, man or woman, that they would have to clean and eat, like do all the food, like take care of the kids 100%. Obviously their spouse should be involved in that as well, but you would have more of a share of that. So I would want to see that she has the ability to cook. She doesn't have laundry all over the place, stuff like that. And then if she told me I want to be a stay-at-home wife after I saw that, like I dated someone where she wanted to be a stay-at-home wife, and I saw that she took painstaking detail to wrap gifts for kids. She paid attention to a lot of the details, was very clean herself, was very active in the community. Like she was already doing a lot of things to where, if we got married, she could easily transition to being a stay-at-home wife and, still doing a lot of those things.
Right. And why are those things so important if she was a stay-at-home wife?
What else are you going to do when you stay at home? Yoga all day?
There are plenty of women that they do exactly that.
But that's what I mean. Again, some people might be into that, but me, I want someone that's going to be on my level. And if she's going to be a stay-at-home wife, there's certain things that you have to put into the relationship what your spouse is putting in. So
she's going to put her 100% in the areas that you cannot cover, and then you put your 100% in other areas that she cannot cover.
Yeah.
As far as providing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're seeing today is that stay-at-home moms are not really stay-at-home moms because they're not traditional. Because what I think of traditional is exactly the values that they prioritize family, they prioritize kids, they prioritize their role as a mother in the education of the kids, in the household. And it's not just the house, because they tend to take care of your family. They tend to take care of, your friends. Like if you are invited to a birthday party, she has already taken care of buying the gifts, wrapping, being ready. Your clothes are washed, what you're going to wear is good to go. So those are all of those things that make her traditional, but also make her happy to do it. So I think it's more of the mindset of being a traditional woman, where you are not doing it just because you don't have to work. Because a lot of women, they would say, I just don't want to work. I'm tired, so I just want to stay home. But then as they stay home, they don't really enjoy doing that either, or taking care of those things, or they drop the kids at the daycare because they don't want to be with them all day. They're annoying. They like to go to yoga or brunches, etc., because they want to have a social life without having to do anything else, without having to contribute into the household financially.
Yeah.
So, yes, you can be traditional like it was in the 50s, but they enjoyed doing that role, taking on that. They were proud to take on that role. Are we seeing the same thing today?
I mean, I think that's a great question, better for women. I don't know if I can answer that question, but just on what I've seen, I think there are plenty of women nowadays that can strive being a stay-at-home mom. I met someone very recently where she just worked part-time and she primarily just watched the kid and stayed home. And, it's just because you're traditional, it doesn't mean you stay home and you cook and you wear the bonnet and apron. And
wow, really?
That's,
Does that come with being traditional? Did you have to throw it in there?
Well, I just meant like old timey, because you always see the pictures of the 50s.
So that's in your mind, like that's what you think. But with the times that have changed, a woman can still be a traditional woman and still work and take care of, have a life outside of home. And what I'm saying is that there is no real big difference between a modern woman and a traditional woman these days. A woman can have both aspects of it because they are able to work, because they're able to have a career. And I'm not saying, being all about the career, because that's what we tend to do these days. We take it all because we can do all, and then we end up doing nothing really well. But you cannot put them in one category or the other, because there are things that they're able to do, especially as a woman. When you live on your own for a while, you're already taking care of the house. You know how to cook because you're doing it for yourself. So you're already doing all of that. And on top of that, you have a job and things. And a lot of men are doing that too.
So I agree, and I guess to me, when I think about traditional and modern, and looking at the word traditional in a modern sense and the word modern in a modern sense, so looking at traditional, to me, I see traditional as, for example, whenever you are doing outside chores and you see like a big log, instead of you picking it up, you say, hey, do you mind picking this up? So, the guy does the heavy lifting and stuff like that.
Okay.
And as an example, as a woman, let's just say that I'm doing laundry and she's like, hey, no, I want you to do laundry this way, because that's more of a traditional role that women would do. I would defer to her. So it's more, deferring to those quote unquote traditional things that men and women over the course of history, up until like the last 30 years, what they've primarily done. And just kind of deferring to them, because one, I can only speak for being a guy, but when I'm asked to pick something heavy up, or can you open this jar or something like that, even if the woman can do it and she's just saying that to make her man feel like a man, that is part of that deference and being kind of traditional and stuff like that. So
traditional takes many colors.
Yes.
But primarily, it's in the role that the woman takes on.
In the man, yes.
And it's like the gender role. Like traditional, and I would say traditional women are more nurturing, more feminine, because it's not just traditional, that's the woman. Like that's how the woman usually is. But at the same time, you have women that can totally carry that log and have no issues with it.
Yeah, and to be clear, there's not just, we're talking about traditional women, but there's also traditional men as well that want their wives to stay at home, that the men have to make more than their wives do, and they're the ones that are the breadwinners.
The breadwinner, yeah.
Yes. So, it applies to both men and women. So, we can look at it both different ways.
Right. But there is not... So what I'm trying to understand is it the role of two people, the roles that they have taken into a relationship, marriage, family? Or is it just the fact that one wants to stay home and the other wants to be the provider? So does that... And my question is, do we stick to... Is Colin traditional? Do we stick to traditional is the man provides, the woman cares or nurtures? Is that the definition of tradition?
I mean, I think what tradition is, it's a gray area. I mean, it's not really, it's not black and white. So, I mean, that's why it's giving my subjective viewpoint on what I see as traditional, like, the man has certain roles and the man will defer to the woman in certain roles and the woman will defer to the man. That's kind of how I see it. Moving to, like a more modern, like modern men and modern women, modern men and modern women, as you were talking about, kind of how this came up was how there's this movement about men being more expressive about their emotions and feelings and stuff like that. I would say that men have always been very vocal about the things they don't like throughout history. So I don't know about that one, but when it comes to like emotion, sure. So the more modern man also engages in that deep dialogue of emotions and why they feel a certain way and stuff like that.
Because most of the time we hear that, especially in a relationship, men are not expressive because they don't know how they're going to be perceived or if they're going to be judged for showing vulnerability.
That's true.
So that is the main reason that they don't express, because in a way they want to be seen as the stronger sex, right?
Yeah.
I'm expected to make the right decision. I'm expected to bring money. I'm expected to make this much. I'm expected to struggle. I'm expected to do all the hard things. So showing vulnerability, showing stress, showing emotions, that would make me less of a man, in the eyes of the women. And what we're asking more of them, at the same time, they're also expressing how women make them feel. And how women are behaving these days, and certain behaviors just don't make them comfortable anymore as men.
And I think that goes into what modern women are. Modern women are more expressive about their sexuality. I mean, WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion was this massive hit because it was just like in your face sex. I mean, some pretty...
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very provocative, very visual song. And so it was before that as well, but that song kind of encapsulated this whole women being comfortable in their sexuality. And, a lot of women nowadays having not a lot, but, some women having OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of women with OnlyFans.
Yeah, or, a lot of women do these sexual dances on, like, Reels on Instagram or TikTok or stuff
But
like
it has become a source of income, though.
Of course.
And I mean, I'm not saying that, the oldest profession is not, still around, but it's like a different form of it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what makes a woman a modern woman? More, explicit, being more open about her sexuality, being unapologetic about her preferences, or is that what makes a woman modern?
I mean, I always have difficulty expressing what constitutes anything about women, but my subjective opinion...
Yeah, these are our opinions, of course. I mean, I'm listening to all kinds of crap out there. I'm gathering information. I'm seeing, different talks and speeches, and I'm trying to understand, are we really understanding or accepting each other and the roles that we have as men and women, or are we just confusing the shit out of each other? And men don't know anymore what to expect from their woman, and women have much higher expectations from men, but at the same time, they're not really true to what they're contributing in the relationship or the well-being of the relationship by making their personal choices. For example, if your wife decides that she's gonna do this is funny to say when I think about it, she's gonna do OnlyFans, and you're married now, right? And there are things that you're planning on for your future, etc., and she decides this is what she wants to do now. Is that something that you will support as a man?
So I'm going to answer that. But the reason I always phrase it, this is from a man's point of view, is because I don't want women to ever think, wow, he's trying to describe women. Because I hate it when guys do that, when guys say women want this. Guys don't know, first of all. So now let me answer your question.
Right. I mean, we don't know either. And this is a reason women don't know shit.
But it's better for women to say it instead
We're
of guys.
speculating because we hear certain guys talk about certain things, and then we hear other guys, and then we hear other women. So it's just, a mess. So we really don't know. That's why it helps understand and kind of like have like a clear understanding of what are we really thinking about each other, and what do we really want from each other. And in order to have a healthy relationship, those lines have to be clear. Like it just, what you want out of your wife and what I want out of my husband, or my role and his role, those should be clear. Or expectations.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to decide if I should answer that.
I'm sorry. I'm just kind of like bringing all these things in because it's, I personally have found myself in different roles. So I was traditional, I was married, then I was on my own, I was independent, and then I'm talking on podcasts about all kinds of stuff for whatever I hear, I experience, my dating life, etc. And I would consider myself as modern, right? I'm expressive, I'm independent, and I would consider myself modern. But at the same time, I was the traditional woman for a period of time in my life as well.
Yeah. And
so we can shift.
So I wouldn't care about the OnlyFans thing if she wasn't interacting with other people. If she's just out there doing her thing, showing off her body, I guess masturbating, whatever it is women do on OnlyFans, I don't care as long as there's no interaction. And when it comes to you being a traditional or modern woman, I think, that's people change over time. Used to talking about sex as a woman was a pariah. Like you weren't supposed to do it. It was taboo.
Right.
You just never did it. And, over time it's become a lot more, there's all these movements now about like free the boobies, whatever it's called.
Free the nip.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So there's more movements about letting sexuality be free. There's a lot more women that are wearing more revealing clothing, showing their bodies because they don't have to feel ashamed about it anymore. They can be comfortable for who they are. I think...
Is it being comfortable or is it being attention seeker? Because they're... Like, things are just so messy right now.
So, let me tell you from a guy's point of view, because I can't tell you from a woman's point of view. From a guy's point of view, I do it out of confidence and for attention. Mm-hmm. And I can't speak for women on why they do it, but... At least for guys, when I dress a certain way, I do it because I think I look good and I want to attract attention. Mm-hmm. I mean, whenever you get dressed up, are you thinking to yourself, I'm probably going to get a lot of looks tonight. I'm going to garner a lot of attention. I feel confident right now.
I would say that the way that you dress shows a lot about your personality. And I would be extremely, extremely uncomfortable if I was wearing something revealing in a crowd. I personally would feel very uncomfortable. Like, it's different if I would wear like a classy, deep V or whatever that would, just show cleavage. But if I was pairing that with a mini skirt and some fishnet tights or something like that, that's not me. So,
but you would realize the attention it would garner. Like, you would be aware of it.
But yes, but it would be bad attention. Like, I'm not getting the attention that I want. For me as a woman, I would get the bad attention. I would get the creeps or people that want to sleep with me because I'm kind of screaming sex. I'm screaming, come get me, come do me, right? And that's not what I'm trying to do when I'm somewhere. Like, I want to show who I am as a woman. So I want to dress in a way that I show my style, I show my class, I show, yes, I am beautiful, yes, I do have assets, but they're not out for sale. They're not on the market. So I've always said that, you wear, you dress per your profession. So you would identify women that are, professional. You identify women that are in other professions by the way that they dress, right?
Yeah, and from a guy's point of view, when women dress more revealing, guys do look. I mean, whether it's crop tops or you go to the gym, and I mean some of the outfits some of these women are wearing nowadays. I mean, it does. Guys do look. I mean,
guys look at every woman, no matter what she's wearing.
That is true, but there are certain outfits that definitely stand out.
Right, because they're very revealing and they...
Or tight.
Tight, right. So now you see a lot of women that go to gym, wearing that. That's for attention as well. But is that modern? Does it make a woman modern, or does it make her cheap? There's a difference. Like, what are we trying to portray out there? What are we trying to show? Like, being modern is a woman that can take different roles in her life and can take care of multiple things and can be a successful woman and can have a career, etc. But then at the same time, she's not afraid of her sexuality. She's not hiding her opinions, right? Like, that's a big thing. Women would not express what they thought, or they would not be doing a podcast 30 years ago. So there's a difference between being a modern woman and not hiding who you are, and then being a woman that sees modern as free the nip or let it all hang out because this makes me confident. Is that really confidence? Like, how do men see this?
Let me try and phrase it this way. So let's say that I go to a gym and I see a woman in, a sports bra and short yoga pants. I don't know what you exactly call them. And I see them, I wouldn't be able to pick up on whether they are traditional or modern. And here's why. One, when it comes to traditional, they might be trying, like I have been with women to where they will dress more revealing because since they're going to be staying at home, part of their role is to stay hot, have that slim body, be that, hot, sexy thing you have sex with. So I have seen that. And when it comes to modern, it's also women that want to that are okay with being expressive about their sexuality, like, I'm going to dress how I want, I'm going to sleep around, do whatever I want. So in that sense, I can't pick up on whether the woman is traditional or modern. I've dated women that have done it and been both traditional and modern. So from a guy's point of view, it's just fun to look at. We're not really trying to figure out what kind of people they are. It's just like, wow, nice ass, or wow, I really like that midriff, or whatever it is,
Right. So as a guy, you are still checking the woman out without having any other thoughts about it.
I am never.
If she's dress too revealing or if she's conservative, like, it doesn't matter.
I mean, if in the past when I have looked at people and I thought they were attractive, I mean, there was no judgment passed. I mean, I'll just say that. I mean, the only thing that kind of bothers me is, whenever I see really young girls, where like 12, 13, I'm not staring at any of these girls. It just glances my eye, to be clear.
Right.
It's just like, man, it would be tough for me as a parent seeing my little girl dressed like that,
Right.
knowing as a guy what guys do.
Right.
So, that's the only time I really...
When you have the same thought about your wife, though?
No. Because here's the thing.
I mean, knowing
the,
how guys are, would you want your wife to go out like that?
I don't care about that because, when you have reached a certain age, like, go do whatever you want. If you want to have sex with a bunch of people, go. Just don't do it at 12 or 13. You just don't know any better.
Well, they are doing at 12 and 13.
I know they are. You just don't know any better, though, at that point.
Right.
And so it's easier to be manipulated and stuff like that. But when it comes to my wife, I am very confident in who I am. Like, my wife could wear whatever, wherever. It doesn't bother me because do I want her to do that? No. I mean, I want her to dress respectable for herself, and for me.
Yeah, you just said the word respectable. So there is a difference between being conservative and being modern. Is that, and I wouldn't say traditional, because that doesn't, as you said, you would not know if a woman that is dressed a certain way is traditional or not, because you don't know which role she wants to take in the house. But you would know if she's conservative, if she's respectable, or if she is liberal. No, I would say the word liberal. And it's not political or anything, but, just free-spirited. Basically, I wear what I want, I do what I want. I'm very secure in myself, I know who I am, and I don't have to hide any part of me.
Yeah, and it's funny because, speaking about, so I have been with women that are as old as 47, and I have been with women, I mean, I guess outside of high school, the youngest I've been with was 20 years old. Well, I dated...
Be careful with the ages.
Let's remove college.
Let's stay above 18.
No, everyone I've been with outside of high school, when I was an 18, was below the 18. So just removing...
Let's just leave high school.
Let's remove high school and college, really.
You can't leave college out. That's where everything happens.
Okay, so in college, I dated like 19, 20-year-olds, of course. But after college, I also...
dated 19, 20-year-olds.
When I was older. So, and the reason why I wanted to separate that is because, there are older women that are very confident in who they are, very confident in their sexuality, like they know what they bring to the table.
They're mature.
Yes, very mature. And then you meet these younger girls who, they are also very sexually active, but they're not as confident in themselves.
They're still in the exploration stage.
So, and I don't know if it has something to do, and here's my thought process as a guy. And sometimes I wonder if it's from seeing, these Instagram models and these TikTok influencers or whatever. I don't know what they really call them anymore, but, you see most of these people are very, very attractive, and you see these women as they're doing these sexual dances, they wear these certain clothes, they put on this makeup and stuff like that. So as a young girl, or even as a young boy, you see some of these people and you can't help but look at them and be like, wow, I would really like to look like that. So it kind of hits your confidence. When you get older, it doesn't really matter as much because you realize, okay, that's all fake. It's like the 1% of the 1%
right.
of the 1%. So I think when it comes to like sexuality with young people, is a lot of the bigger women. Typically, when it comes to women, their biggest audience are men, and typically outside of makeup and stuff like that. But Typically, it's men, and men typically, when they are watching stuff online, look for submissive, childlike, like smooth skin, that kind of stuff. And so these younger women will model themselves over that, like be passive, be open to all these like sexual things and sexual activities, or dress a certain way. It's the same thing for guys again. But just speaking from my point of view, I think that kind of has the Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that has kind of impacted these younger people to make it that, you know, they do all these things. They're sexually active. They do all these like sexual activities that you typically don't do till you're older. You're just exposed to it at a much younger age now.
So you do agree that women now, younger women now, are exposed to sexuality way before they reach that sexual maturity?
Absolutely.
Because, like, I sometimes wonder, like, for me, it took a long time to reach my sexual maturity. And that's why you would say that older women are more confident in their sexuality, etc. But that's because you really reach the sexual maturity where you enjoy sex for what it is, not use sex in a way to get your self-confidence. Because I think with what's going on right now and social media and everything that you just described is that you use sex to kind of give you some type of self-confidence. So the more attention that you have, the more confident you feel. But then again, you're getting a different type of attention. Yeah. Or you're engaging in sexual activity before you appreciate sex for what it is, which is a lot more emotions and a lot more feelings and a lot more spiritual and physical satisfaction that it is just the activity itself.
And I would say that, you know, social media is not all bad. A vast majority of it is. But, you know, there are some positive things that come out of it. Like, you know, there's more conversation going back to a traditional and modern woman about, you know, women should be more vocal during sex. Because, I mean, a vast majority of women I've been with have not been vocal about, you know, I like this, I like that. It was more me exploring and figuring it out.
Because they don't know what they like. They don't know. I mean, that...
No?
No, because it's more of following what you are used to. As I said before, like I was in a very long relationship with the same person. So you don't know better. Like, and again, the difference in times, I didn't have access to all of this information that is out there now, to all of this self-exploration that women are doing now compared to before.
Okay, but you didn't realize certain things felt better than others.
Yes,
Even very young.
Yes, I did. But it doesn't mean that that's exactly what I want. That's still part of like exploring. Yeah. That's the part of like, okay, well, this I like, this I didn't like, but next time that same thing I didn't like. Or it wasn't that, oh, I want to try this next time. Like in my mind, there was no idea of what the next thing would be. Like I didn't have that kind of knowledge that is available now. Social media, it's like there's a lot more knowledge that is available now. And girls have access to that at age, 13, 12?
Okay. So at different times, women like different things.
Yes. Why are we changing it back to that?
Because I think that's fascinating.
It is. It is because it depends. It depends on your mood. It depends on your hormone stage that you're in different times of the month. Yes, of course. And here is the thing. Like, men need to learn more about that. They need to like see, that women, just like men, I mean, you guys have the same thing. You don't express everything that you want.
Men are typically more expressive than women are.
Expressive in exploration?
And what they want.
Not really. They
I don't have sex with a lot of guys, so I mean, I know what it's like. But just based on my experience and what I've heard.
It depends. It depends. But I wouldn't say that men would say, I want you to do this or I want you to do that.
Huh.
Not really.
Okay.
They are content that they're having sex. They either like it or they don't like it or whatever. I don't know. But it's not like they don't fully say, this is what I want you to do.
Interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, I don't know. You're a guy. You know guys. But it's not something that both people, it's not very common that both people would be very open about that. And I think, it's one of the causes in marriages that, some marriages are just not satisfying as far as sex goes because they have a hard time talking about those things of fear of how they're going to be perceived. And women especially are afraid of how they're going to be perceived because is this thing that, if the woman knows what she wants, she must be very experienced, which means she probably slept with a lot of people. And going back to that modern or traditional, is that what you would think? That probably the woman has a lot of experience, has been with a lot of people. That's why she knows what she wants.
Honestly, the person that was one of the people that were the most open to trying different things. She watched a lot of porn.
Exactly. How many women would you say they do that? There are not many.
No idea.
There are not many women that would do that. I mean, regularly. But then again, is porn sex? That's not what it is. It's very different.
Literally, yes.
Literally. Visually, yes. But it's not real sex.
Okay.
So a lot of people tend to imitate that and positions and certain things, and it's not the same thing. It just doesn't feel. I mean, I don't know if it feels the same because I don't know how they feel, but a lot of, especially guys that are addicted to porn, they treat it like they want to have the same experience and they want to do the same thing as in porn, but it's not. It doesn't feel the same. It's not the same experience.
Yeah.
And for women, it's the same thing too, because sex is more about expressing your emotions, and not just emotions like making love. I'm not saying that, but it's more of how you feel and how connected you are to that person and where you can go with them, the things that you want to explore with them because of how you feel about it, but not a mechanical way. And I would say that porn is more of the, what to do in a mechanical way.
It gives you ideas.
It gives you ideas, right. But I would say that a lot more younger women now have access to sexuality than other women.
And, keeping on the sex subject, that have been with women that have been with a lot of guys that were more exploratory. And it wasn't from porn, so it's just people are into different things. And when it comes to, does it bother me if women have been with a bunch of people before me? I personally have never cared because I'm not the most attractive person in the world, but I can get by. And I know that I'm very good in bed, so I'm never worried about someone being like, well, he doesn't satisfy me in the bedroom. So to a lot of guys, when women tell them, hey, I've been with the X amount of guys, however many it is, they're like, oh shit, there's guys' dicks are probably bigger than mine.
What?
They probably know how to do more things.
Is that what it is? Do you think that guys are kind of like comparing themselves with the others that have been?
Absolutely.
Really?
You don't ever. I once knew a guy where he was worried about dating this one girl because she had been with a lot of people, because in his mind he thought to himself, what if she's fantasizing about another guy while she's with me? Or she thinks to herself, wow, I had it better with him than I do who I'm currently with.
Even if she has been with one guy before you, that doesn't guarantee you that she's not fantasizing about him. So what does the certain number do?
There's more people out there that they've had sexual relations with, that there's more possibility that they might have liked it with someone else more. If it's just one, you just have to beat out one guy. If it's 200 guys, you have to beat out 200 guys.
Okay.
It's a numbers game.
So you think, so you really think it's a numbers game because of where you stand compared to the other guys that she's been with.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change anything. The perception of her doesn't change as far as how you view her. As far as, is she somebody that you would want to marry? Is she somebody that you want to have a family with? Is she a person of morals? Is she like the people that she has slept with? Is that because she doesn't have any respect for her body? Like, does that say anything more about her, or is it just where do I stand and compare to other guys?
Let me put it to you this way. If that man was put in the same situation as that, let's say that woman slept with 200 guys. If that man was put in the same situation and it was 200 girls, he would have slept with all of them. So him saying that women don't respect their body, you can't have it that way, because men would have done the exact same thing. They would have slept with every one of them.
But men have always done that.
Okay, that doesn't
men have never changed that, and the mentality that men can do that and not be judged for it, that has never changed either.
And I do admit that is a problem for women. Unfortunately, there are some guys out there that do frown upon that. Typically, more conservative guys that aren't confident in themselves. But
so you think it's still a sense of confidence in themselves?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you are in a relationship with someone that has slept with half of your neighborhood. Let's just say, growing up. Would you marry that person?
Probably not. I personally have never. I don't really date within, groups. As in, if she knows my neighbors and then I met her and she has dated my other neighbors, I wouldn't be with that person.
Why?
It is. I know what goes through guys' minds when they see that girl again, one. And two, I know how guys communicate with one another. And so that would just create issues if it got back to me. And so it would just create these issues and this drama that's unnecessary that I wouldn't want to get involved in.
As far as your reputation?
I don't care about my reputation. It's just I will defend her honor, and I don't want someone talking negatively about
disrespecting your partner.
Yes.
Right.
And so, again, I just know how guys are, how they joke around, the things that they say, the things that they do. And, I would also worry that, worst case scenario, they have a nude of the person I'm with, and who knows what they're doing with that. So...
Which kind of is the same, even if the person didn't sleep around within your circle, it's the same thing if she slept around with 30, 40, 50, 60 guys.
I wouldn't know any of those guys. I wouldn't have to ever worry about that getting back to me.
Okay. So the less you know, the better. But it's not all about not feeling confident or secure about yourself or your sexuality. Compared to them, it has both sides. Like, it depends of who she slept with and how is it going to get back to you. So it does have some type of sense of protecting, in a way, the honor of somebody that honestly wasn't that worried about protecting her own, in a way.
Yeah.
So there is that judgment, in a way, of women being so free in giving their body. Is more of, I would have to be the person that would have to be much stronger to deal with certain consequences of her life. And it doesn't make her a bad person, but at the same time, it's somewhat concerning if if this will be, the mother of my kids.
And I think part of the reason I feel that way is from past trauma. I once dated someone where she was talking and hanging out with another guy. She dated me, she got upset with me, and when she got upset, she slept with him.
Okay.
And so then it became an issue, and I was just like, I don't want to get involved in that again.
Right.
I'm out. I have zero interest in dealing with that. Because, I'm not one of those people that tries to have drama or issues in his life, and so I remove that, and that's not something I could remove.
Right.
So
makes sense. When it comes to women having multiple partners, there's a difference between having multiple partners, and it's a difference in sleeping around, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
So it's also a psychological issue there too, when it comes to how they perceive sex and how they perceive engaging with people in that level without knowing, etc. So in a way, I see it as some type of concern that, her decision making in certain things, like how she's not being safe, first of all, right? So it's her decision making that will impact, how will she make decisions in other areas. But at the same time, women want to be expressive. They want to be sexually liberated, which I don't think they were ever sexually oppressed. I don't think that women, yes, back, if we go way back, I would say that, yes, it was an expectation. But women always had the choice to either engage or not engage. So it's not like something held them back other than the danger that comes with it, the risks, being that of STDs and, God forbid, being with somebody who's dangerous or could do something. I don't know. We've seen it. So that decision...
I haven't seen it.
What do you mean you haven't seen it? Like serial killers, women going on a date, or in college,
I've seen it on news. I've never personally seen it.
Going on a date with somebody for the first time. Like I was listening, it happened. I don't know. It was like a couple months ago when they had this guy on. God, I can't remember what it was, but they were actually saying that be careful. This guy's on all the dating apps, and my friend went out with him on a first date, and then he tried to rape her, right? And I'm like, where? At the restaurant?
That's funny.
And I'm not saying that this is funny, because it's not fucking funny. It shouldn't happen. But where would a guy try to rape you? At the restaurant? So women, where are you going on your first date? Like, your decision making, it's a little concerning, and it's not about you being open about your sexuality. Is that you're being a little stupid or dumb because you're putting yourself in danger.
So you think going home with the guy the first time is always a bad idea?
It is a bad idea.
Okay.
If you don't know the guy at all, if you met the guy online, yes. God knows what he could be. You could be chopped up in pieces in like a matter of 2 hours. How the fuck do you know?
I never chopped up anyone.
Why do you think that most of the prostitutes were the victims in all the serial killer shows? Easy target, right? So online dating, easy target. If I just went out with you for 10 minutes, we had a coffee, and then you end up in my house, you're a stranger. Like, it's the same as going in somebody else's house. What makes you think you know this person because he has a picture online? So, like, women, that's that line, when, you can be modern, you can be independent, you can dress how it fits you, your style, your personality. You can have as many relationships as you want. You can express your sexuality openly, etc. But you also have to keep in mind that there are certain dangers or certain things that are related to it. And guys don't have that problem. I don't know how many guys have been, attempted to be raped on the first date, but I haven't heard many.
I don't know either. It's I don't know. I mean, it is definitely more dangerous as a woman to date around, and like you said, you always have to be aware and keep an eye for the signs. I guess I'm not a woman. I have no
Well, you have to
idea.
keep an eye for yourself, because you don't know the person, you don't know who they are, and you don't know how long, you have to wait for those signs. Like nobody shows their signs right away, right?
Yeah.
And most dangerous guys would say they have been attractive, charismatic, good looking, etc. I
Sounds
mean,
like me.
that profile
Just
is
kidding.
the profile, like you never know. But going back to it is that there is such thing as too much freedom, and there is, the judgment. It's not about, how many people she has slept with, if she has enjoyed her life, what she did, what she wanted to do, what felt good to her, etc. But it's more of her decision making and how she conducted herself, and where she put herself. And it's not just about sexual experience, but also who do you have that sexual experience with.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot more difficult and different for women because I have sent stuff to women without ever meeting them. I have invited them to my place without ever meeting them.
And then you have gotten, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes from them?
Yes, or have met them at their place. I can think of one girl in particular where in her profile she said she was a pansexual, and I was like, I'm curious what that is.
Your Google didn't work?
Well, sure, Google works, but I've never met someone that was out really a pansexual.
Okay.
So we met, and we talked about it for a little while, and she said that she's sexually attracted to like poles and trees and stuff. And so it was a different experience for me.
I want to know about that. Which pole did you go to?
No, it was just it was a light pole. Like we were walking through a park or whatever, and she was just like, I was asking her, what does it mean to be pansexual? And she says, I find this tree attractive. I find that lamp pole attractive.
Okay.
And so I asked her, does that mean you want to have sex with it?
Uh-huh.
And she goes, it's not so much you want to have sex with it, but you're attracted to the aura that it gives off.
An aura.
Okay. I have.
All right, I need to stop being. Yeah.
She's the only person
I don't understand it.
I've ever really met that was pansexual that I know of. So, but what I'm saying is, it's like for me, I could go to people's houses without ever meeting them. They could come to my house without ever meeting. I never really, except the pansexual. I was a little worried meeting her for reasons unrelated to her pansexualness.
And the witch.
The witch. I was more curious. I was never afraid of her. It was a little creepy, but...
Yeah, you just wonder what the magic would be.
I'm a curious person sometimes, so when people have interesting profiles, even if they're not the most attractive person, I'm like, okay, I can get behind this just to see what it's like. But pushing that to the side...
Curiosity. Okay, so would you say that women in college, like early 20s, would you say that they have way more sexual experiences than older women?
So I was... a loser in college, so I slept with 2 people. So I can't really speak too much about me being in college and dating college girls. Okay, me older dating college girls. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Again, I will say that the younger college girls I've been with are typically very submissive, but not very confident at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like just... they are more sexual, as in they want to have sex more often.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more of a submissive thing. Whereas the older women, the more mature women, they also are not active. I mean, they're sexually active, but it's a more fulfilling experience for them. Like they are more vocal, they do certain things, they ask for certain things. So in my experience, younger women probably have more sex, but the older women, there's some that are still very active, but because they also have the confidence to the skills that they have, it is more pleasurable.
Would you say that have you known, or would you say that a high percentage of women in college or right out of college would be virgins? and save themselves for marriage. No. Like,
I can't speak to that.
is that something that it's because sometimes people think that a young woman is more innocent and more traditional and more the chances of her not having slept with anyone are higher, etc. Does that go hand in hand?
I think college is a very expressive time for young women and their sexuality. So that's my experience. I don't know. I can't speak to why the women do what they do, whether they're innocent. In my experience, I wouldn't really call them innocent. That is their time to go wild. So, I mean, sure, there are innocent women that probably save themselves, but you typically look at the ones and pay attention to the ones that are more out there and, wearing certain clothes.
Right.
You wouldn't pay attention to Sally Mae in her apron and bonnet when you have, I don't know, I don't want to throw another name out, but
Jezebel.
Jezebel wearing a crop top with
Right.
a skirt or whatever,
Right.
or slim dress or something like that. Those are the people you probably pay more attention to and want to hang out more with.
See, so dressing in a certain way is perceived a certain way.
As a guy, if we see something attractive...
So you do make a difference, because if you're looking at Jezebel with the crop top, etc., that's where your focus would be, because that's screaming sex at you.
Because I can see I can get an idea what's underneath. If a woman's wearing something that, I have no idea. It's just like, where's the...
But I thought that the more covered a woman was, the more mysterious, the more, interested.
It depends on how you dress. It's, you have to... right now, I've noticed that people are wearing more baggy clothes. Women are wearing baggy jeans.
Yes, I see that, yeah.
And some women wear it very well, where it looks very attractive on them. And some women don't know how to pull it off. And so it's just about finding the clothes that match your body type. So certain women look good in baggier clothes. Certain women look better in more slim-fitted clothes. That's just, to guys' eyes, and I guess my eyes, you just have to figure out what works for your body type. Not that you should aim for pleasing guys and what they look at, but as a guy, if I am looking for someone, I want to look for something that matches that body type.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's very interesting. So when it comes to...
Well, wait a minute. So how about, you've asked me a lot about modern and traditional women. What about modern and traditional men? Do you see a difference between the two? How about the way they dress?
And that's why I find it so confusing. And we talked a lot about women, because women can kind of go in and out of the different profiles. They can be modern, they can be sexually confident, they can be traditional, they can be stay-at-home moms, they can be conservative. And I think men, I'm seeing the same thing as well, because I would think that men don't really know what women are looking for anymore, since they are going through all these different stages, and men are doing the same. They're kind of following along. So I would meet guys that say they're old-fashioned. For me, when I hear old-fashioned, I hear,
They're gonna get beat?
No.
Just kidding.
Oh shit. See? Now that's a different color. Okay. Now, I think more traditional, right? Respectful gentleman, knows his role, in the relationship. But at the same time, I see, for example, I was asked, what is your biggest turn off, on the first date? And I said, if the guy doesn't pay on the first date. And I was asked, well, why would you expect a man to be traditional if you are not a traditional woman, if you're a modern woman? And I understand the question. I get that. Does that make him traditional? First of all, it's the first date. Like, I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he's... My expectation, it's not about him being a traditional man, but it's more of a respectful guy going out on a date with a woman.
Uh-huh.
And most of the time, I would offer to pay. But then at the end of the day, on a first date, I would expect him to say no. Like, it's not the traditional than it is masculinity. It's something that, and women are attracted to masculinity traits. And it's something that we may not pinpoint it to certain looks or to certain styles or certain behaviors, but we sense it, we feel it, we can see a guy that is masculine, and that automatically translates into a man. And the same with a woman. If she has those feminine traits, you can sense it. You know, she doesn't have to do certain things, but, you know, it's just the way that she's behaving around you or talking, or how she communicates, or her voice, or her movement, or, you know, how she dresses, her makeup, all of that will give you that sense of a feminine woman.
So does the way that a guy dresses well, do women judge that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not judged in a bad way, but it shows, you know, their confidence in themselves. I personally have a very hard time with the skinny tight jeans. You know, when the time, I don't know, I think it's still around, is it? God, I hope, you know, I hope they have grown out of it.
I haven't.
You have them?
I have
You
them.
wear them?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to skip this part.
It's okay.
I personally have a problem with the tight skinny jeans. Unless you're a rock star and you're on stage, you have no business wearing skinny, tight, low-rise jeans.
They make my butt look good.
Okay. It may make your butt look good, but it's not masculine to a woman. The guy that is probably wearing dirty jeans because he was working on something right now, and, you know, they're kind of like a little loose, a little hanging here and there, that's masculine. Because he's not really paying attention to, you know, if he's wearing something to fit his body, but he's more, you know, he's wearing something that is comfortable for him while he's working on something, while he's doing something.
Gotcha.
And that's masculine. If he's wearing a tight white shirt, you know, like super tight, and you can see his nipples, not very masculine at all. You know, like, it's just not something that would attract me. But if he's just wearing like a loose shirt or a t-shirt or whatever, yeah, absolutely. And it depends on how he behaves, you know, how he talks to you when you're out, when you're going out, it's not just that he runs behind you and opens the door, but, you know, it's the way that he opens the door. Like, it's not something he's forcing himself to do. It's just something that comes naturally because he's confident and he's secure in himself, and he's not looking to impress, but, you know, he's just doing what a guy does. And women can sense that. They know when a guy is doing something to impress and when he's doing something that is natural to him because he is a guy.
So I have done a lot of talking about traditional versus modern women. Is there anything else that sticks out to you that shows the dichotomy between traditional and modern men?
So traditional, for me, for example, I do not think that a traditional man is the man that provides. Because providing has different levels of providing. For me, it's a provider is not just somebody that goes to work, because you have to provide a lot more. You have to provide the stability of the home. You have to provide your role, your decision making. A traditional woman with the traditional men, you know, she is relying on him to make those decisions, the hard decisions. You know, she is relying on him to be smart and confident. And I mean, if the shit hits the fan, you know, she's relying on you. And you have to have those skills. And that's what makes you masculine. Those are the things that you can hustle, that you can do things, and you can still be present at home with your family, with your wife. That's part of protecting, right? Like if you're gone for 6 months on a business trip and your woman is alone with kids, you're not really protecting. So you're skipping that part. And men think being traditional means providing money. But at the same time, the days that we're living, it's hard to provide for everything that is needed. So a lot of men would say, I want a traditional woman because I'm a traditional man, but he can only provide a certain level of lifestyle, right? Is that enough?
So what is a modern man then?
A modern man is a man that understands that it doesn't take just one person to build a family, and that's the modern woman as well. It's not providing, it doesn't fall only on one person. Decision making doesn't fall only on one person. We are both intelligent. We're both capable of making decisions together. We're both capable of bringing additional income. Why do I have to look at you if I want more when I can bring as well, and we can both have more, and we can both have the lifestyle that we want? But at the same time, you're not expecting me to be home every single day cooking and cleaning because I did have a hard day the same way as you had a hard day. So we're helping each other so we don't have these separated roles and expectations of each other. And I say that's what modern is. I would not say that modern means you are, sexually free and opinionated. Yes, you are opinionated because if you have a level of intelligence and education, yes, you will have your opinions. If you're a woman that reads, that cares about what's happening, you have your opinion. And of course you're free to share it, but at the same time that is respected by your partner as well. And a modern woman is a woman that does prioritize her family with the traditional role and mindset that family comes first, kids come first, etc., but is able to have a social life, is able to work, is able without having to compete with her partner. And what's happened in a lot of relationships is that guys don't like to compete with women when it comes to income, how much they make or what they bring home. And it creates that friction, sometimes and that's why I would say, and that's my question, maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but I would say that's why men would prefer to marry somebody that wants to stay home than have to feel less if their partner is making more, or I don't know, is that something that they're probably struggling with themselves?
So it sounds like modern may be the way to go.
I like modern, but we are putting other things into modern. When we talk about women being modern, we're kind of giving them we're associating it with the freedom of everything else that comes with it. And I don't think that's the case. And even a traditional woman that would like to stay home and takes care of her family, she could be modern in other aspects that we don't know. So we can't just say you have to be one way or another. Where we live today, instead of bashing men and women on, oh, you're not being a man because you're not providing. Come on, why are you putting such pressure on guys that they have to make over this amount of money in order for them to be considered good enough to have a family? That's bullshit. Nobody has to have that kind of pressure because women don't have that oppression anymore. Before they couldn't. I mean, honestly, after World War II, women couldn't work anymore. There was no jobs for them. They worked their butts off before that because men were at war, and they showed that they were capable and able to do it way better than men. But when men came back and they got their jobs back, women couldn't work anymore. So they had to be the housewives because they just couldn't. They would not be hired. And now women don't have to do that anymore. So why are we having these expectations? Why are women going out there and going, oh, he has to make over 200K or 100K or whatever. He has to be doing this and that in order for me to be the housewife. And why? You can bring in, you can make that money together. You can do that together.
And sometimes you just want money, and that's why it's about finding someone that makes you happy. That
Well, it
meshes
makes
with
you happy, but also matches your mindset, matches your mentality, and you. There's no amount of money that will make you happy, and there isn't. There's always wanting more, because if you're chasing after more and more and more, the chase becomes the excitement of it. So you're not going to stop and say, okay, now I'm fully happy. There's always something else that you want, always another car, always another boat, always another house. There's always something. And when you reach that point that you meet somebody that you can visualize things together, and you have your goals together, and this is where we want to be in 5 years, this is what we want to build in 10 years, it's much better than, saying I want somebody that can make me happy financially, because it's just never going to happen.
Very well put.
Very well put. Well, I'm glad you agree with me on this.
I agree with a lot of things. I don't have any more questions for you.
Well, I probably will have more questions for you, but as it goes, we always continue after.
Yeah.
I guess I got my answers on everything that I wanted to know, and I just have a little more clarity on how these roles are being perceived, but I'm sure that I'm going to hear a lot more. So we'll just see, and we'll share next time.
Well, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to subscribe to our podcast, go to our YouTube page, Love&I, and we'd be happy to hear from you guys. And until next time.
See you next time.